lads, give your heart and soul. Run lads, shoot lads, give us all a go. Run lads, shoot lads, you can do it yet. Come on Newport County, oh, bang it in the net.
Okay, so I haven't really done a Taff's Word in a while, so I thought I'd wait till the end of the season and sort of analyse it and the emotions of the end of our season. You know, it was sort of difficult to put into words because what technically has been a successful season for us, given the expectation levels and where people expected us to be come the end of the season, and what went on with some of the results that we had, you know, the cup run and pushing Man United as well as we did. You know, you come away from it looking at it as an overall that it was a successful season. To finish 2 points behind where we were last season, given the financial constraints at the club and losing 4 of our best players, I think. And the thing is, we were very close to beating last season's total whilst having these financial constraints and losing 4 of our best players. So when I say 4 of our best players, Mickey Dimitri was our best defender, Cameron Norman was arguably our best actual player, Priestley Farquharson was a very, very gifted defender and was really coming on well, and for me Aaron Lewis was a very, very good versatile player for us. So I'd say 4 of our 6 best players they were overall, and the way we replaced those players and seemingly exceeded what they were able to do the season before. Now, I know it was Graham's pre-season, so we had a real stamp on the team, the squad, and you know, the way that we played. You know, we managed to turn our fortunes round last season, and coming into this season, then up until the point where we were going to Barrow away. So Barrow, I think after we beat Wimbledon, Barrow away was the next game, or was it Morecambe after the 5-3? I can't remember exactly, but it was around about that time, and we all know what preceded that. Not preceded, what followed that, and it was an 8-game losing streak that was completely and utterly, you know, alien to what the standards that we'd set throughout the season. Yes, we had injuries, and you could say that they caught up. So there's no surprise that our end of season form was poor. But an 8-game losing streak was a real gut punch and a real, hold on a minute, what's going on here? You know, there could well be nothing going on, but questions, you know, you're asking yourself in your head, why are we losing these games? Why are we, you know, we took the lead in a few of them. I think Colchester, we took the lead. We took the lead against Accrington. Who else we take the lead against? Oh, God, there was somebody else. We took the lead. Tranmere, we took the lead. You just wonder, you know, what happened? You know, I mean, we played some poor teams as well. I mean, Colchester played well on the day. Grimsby didn't particularly impress me much, and you know, Salford were no good, but we still managed to lose out in the last minute, last home game of the season. We got absolutely pumped by Bradford last game, and you just think it was so, you know, yeah, okay, we had some bad performances in us, but then I think that was you know, the thinness of the squad, and the lack of, you know, quality. So I wouldn't say that any of our players lack quality, but we didn't have, you know, your big game-winning players. You know, like, you know, we've had some top players like Podge, who would have been a game winner. Mickey as a defender would always have been a game winner. Josh Sheehan would have been a game winner. Josh Labardi, you know, you could say was a game winner. I mean, even, you know, like your veterans like Kevin Ellison was actually a game winner. You know, we didn't have the characters this season, but we still won games. I mean, you know, you've got players like McLaughlin, who's made a real impression. Will Evans obviously had a fantastic season. I think Bryn Morris had a good first season for us. Delaney, before he got injured, you know, was filling the Mickey Dimitri void as best. Well, obviously not fully, because that's a big void to fill for anyone at our level. But you know, he was doing a good job. Nick Townsend shone as a goalkeeper. He made some mistakes, so that's why he's a League Two goalkeeper and not higher. You look at the retained list. There's not a lot of surprises in that. I mean, one thing that I've heard is that like Omar Bogle was on a high wage, and I know Joe Day was definitely on a high wage, and them two leaving the club now opens up a nice big wedge of budget for Graham to play with. I mean, we're losing two good players there, but Joe Day, it was a good financial footballing decision to send him out on loan, because we recouped enough wage for us to get a backup in Johnny Maxted and have some left over for another player. So that was a good move. But then Joe Day, I think Yeovil will only cover a quarter of his wage when you consider that. But, you know, and then Bogle was on a lot of money as well. And yeah, you could understand that as well then. But like I say, them two going opens up a big chunk of wage for us. I would have liked to have seen Omar stay, but if he was on the money he was on, was his return worth that money? Possibly not, but you know, still a great player, you know, for us nonetheless. But then we're sort of looking into next season now. You know, I mean, yeah, there's some players leaving. There's some players who are young who are going to improve. There are some players who we're going to be bringing in. I mean, Graham's recruitment so far, I'd say there's a very high percentage of hits rather than misses. I mean, if you look at all of Graham's signings from last season, I don't think any of them failed to impress in any way. I mean, Harry Charsley is one of Graham's signings from the previous season in the January, and he's done well. I think Luke Jeffcott has had a slow start, but you know, you can sort of understand that. You know, if he had a full season of sitting on the bench, or sometimes not even making a squad up in Scotland, he then comes to us, has 4 players in front of him. So you would have Will Evans, Omar Bogle, Seb Palmer-Holden, and Zanzala in front of him technically, because you know, you don't join a new club and expect to just waltz in unless you've got a track record. Luke Jeffcott has a reasonable track record, but not enough to warrant pushing his way through to the starting lineup. He ended up getting his chance, but his chance came during a point when we were in bad form. So everybody was playing bad. So you can't really single out Jeffcott. So the jury's still out for him. I'd like to see him after a pre-season and see how he links up with some of the new players that we're going to be bringing in. So I think there's more to come from him. And remember, you know, it was a very similar situation with Dom Telford. Remember that. So yeah. Overall, when you sum up the season, it was, you know, overall, when you analyse it overall and not look into segments, it was a successful season. We finished only 2 points behind where we were, like I said, the financial constraints and the loss of those 4 players. But next season, I think... Now, early in the season, I knew we weren't in any trouble. I looked at the way the team was playing. I looked at our style of play. I held that up against a standard for League Two, from my experience of watching League Two football and seeing how it's progressed. That's one thing League Two football has done, is progress. And last season was the most competitive League Two season with some of the better teams I've seen for quite some time. I mean, I saw teams I thought, wow, they're good, and they didn't really do well. I seen teams and I thought, bloody hell, they're not good. And oh, sorry, I'm picking up a phone call, yeah. So it's like Doncaster are the ones I'm talking about with that. They're not good, but they did well. I mean, Bradford beat us 4-1 twice and didn't even make the playoffs. I thought Barrow weren't that good, but they nearly made the playoffs. You know, they were in a playoff position all season. Crewe didn't seem overly good, but they're probably going to go up. And then MK Dons were excellent, and they're not going up. I mean, like I say, it was like basically what I'm trying to get at is anybody could beat anybody on their day, and if you had the right players and the right style, you were going to have a reasonably good season, weighed up against your expectations. Our expectations were, by a lot of people, we will be lucky to stay up, and we did so comfortably. So when you look at it that way, that's fine. If that 8-game losing streak happened anywhere other than the end of the season, then, you know, there would have been some alarm bells. And it's the kind of form that would have dragged you into relegation. Thankfully, we were safe by the point that it happened. So I think it's not something I'm going to linger on, where if I'd have done this video like 3 weeks ago, I may have spoken about this differently. You know, I've had time to calm down from the season ending and analyse things in the right way. You've got to look at the players that we're going to bring in now and how we're going to kick on next season, because I think we've got a good style of play as long as we're not hoofing it. Now, like I say, when we played well. When we hoofed, we didn't. So it's bringing in the right quality and the right variety and increasing the numbers in the squad so we can adapt to different teams. So, you know, we'll do our analysis on how different teams play, and we'll find a way of utilising the right players to play our game against more clubs this time. I mean, there'd have been games where we did our hoof stuff and we still managed to win. You know, sometimes when you play the percentages in football, you know, things can bounce your way, you know, or sometimes you might get a call that goes your way. Unfortunately for us, with the refereeing calls, as you know, you would have seen on a previous video of mine, that those calls didn't necessarily go our way that often. They went against us more often than not. And I think the Accrington game, where we had that Drysdale guy as ref, I think that was about as bad as I think I've ever seen a referee perform in League Two. I think the standard's getting worse, you know, and it's always been reasonably bad, you know, but I think we got an interesting season to look forward to. I think the expectation, the bar is risen now. I think mid-table is the expectation rather than scraping from relegation. And let's see what kind of calibre of player Graham can bring in, because if he can bring in the right kind of player, you never know. I mean, this season, if things had gone slightly different, or we had a couple of extra players, or the injuries weren't so bad, we could have been pushing playoffs. We were only 2 points away come that Barrow game, mind. So, you know, let's see. Let's see what the future brings for us. But there you go. There's my season analysis, and I'm not going to delve too far into the retained list. I think it was pretty much what everybody expected, you know. But there we go. Anyway, thanks for watching all, and I'll try and bang out a few videos as and when we're signing some players, and I'll try and increase the content going forward into next season. Cheers, and as always, up the county.